Hi, it's Oliver here from the Freedom and Profit tribe, and I want to talk to you about something called short-termism today, which is a really interesting concept, and it's got to do with exactly what you are doing in your business right now. So I'm going to jump very quickly into this. So short-termism, very briefly, is the problem that you have when you're stuck in doing something on literally the short term right now without thinking about the longer term effects and what happens if you keep doing this. It's a classic thing that people do in their business when they're growing fast or they're just really fucking desperate to make shit happen, and they get stuck in this situation where they're either putting out fires, desperate for getting their cash flow in, or just on a constant loop of trying to hunt for the next client. What happens when you do this is that the longer time you spend doing this is that you end up essentially in a kind of a debt to what you should have been doing while you were in this process of just doing short-term stuff. Now, for example, we talk about in a technology term, so startups talk about technology debt, where essentially it means just randomly fixing shit and ending up at the end of having fixed stuff, having to redo everything because they were patching things on top of each other, just using duct tape and quick fixes and hacking their own code to make something happen quickly. Now, that can work in the short-term period, but after a while, suddenly you just got to revamp the whole thing. It means that all the shit that you were doing in the beginning with short-term views just disappears. Another one that is more relatable maybe to you and me is a sense of content debt. It's a classic thing where people are just hustling, constantly in sales mode instead of in building community, building connections, creating value. That what happens after a while, let's say you burn out 10,000 euros of ads or $10,000 of ads, and you're building something around the ads, you're trying to sell something, but in the end you burn out your market because you haven't given them anything to feed off that isn't selling. Now, this is really critical because it's so easy to get into that mode of desperation. You're thinking like, shit, I need to get something in right now. And if you don't have a longer term vision that's broken down into clarity around now, it's almost impossible not to do it, right? Because you just don't have that big point, that big vision that makes you do it. Another thing that I feel is a big issue in this is that to think long term, you actually need to be brave. You need to get out of that fear of what if it doesn't work. Yes, it is a risk. There is a risk in doing something long term and sacrificing short term results. But the risk of only doing short term is pretty much a guarantee that you're either going to burn out, your business will crash, or something is going to happen, and you don't have the stability to keep yourself running. So what I want you to do right now, if you feel that you're in some kind of a short-term situation yourself, you may be a little bit running on cash flow, you're just figuring out just like how to deal with this big vision and break it down into something manageable. What I've got for you is a training, and it should be a link for you down below. And in that training, I'll run through the number one tool that I've used when I've built up teams, we've done launches, we've done really fantastic results, and it's fantastic for mission-driven people, where it helps you take your grand idea, your grand vision, and turn it into something that can work in a short term at the same time as you keep that longer term vision in place all the time. What happens then is you can get out of short-termism. You can get away from that panic mode, that desperation mode, which is frankly exhausting and kills all sense of creativity and joy. Because what we want is to be able to get to a point where we can breathe out. Okay. Right, and now we can start working creatively with joy for something that's going to happen in the future, which we know is going to happen. But we need to get out of panic, get out of desperation, and get out of that fear of taking risks. So click the link below and you'll get through to a training where you can have a look at exactly the tool that I've used to make fantastic results for me and for other people. And yeah, I hope you click and enjoy. Thank you very much.